Welcome to the third episode of the Rex Chapman Show with Josh Hopkins, powered by BasketballNews.com. Hey, Josh, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Rex. Third episode. You're number 3. This should be a big one. There's going to be some special. I can tell. Number 3 is the magic number. So
absolutely,
that's going to be a big one. Real big.
What's going on in the world of hoops right now, bud?
Well, the tournament's fully revved up. What do you think so far?
I love it. The basketball's been really good. A little unpredictable, but man, I didn't realize how much I'd missed it. Missing the tournament last year, being back in the studio talking basketball a week ago, and then all the games this past week, just been great. Overtime games, upsets. I don't know if anybody's going to beat Gonzaga though. You?
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I mean, who knows? So what do they play, USC?
They could be on a collision course with them. Every time I watch them, I try to beat them somehow, some way. But their point guard, Suggs, is so good. Timmy's really good inside. I don't want to say get my nose over my skis here, but he's a little Kevin McHale-like. He's slippery in the post, got a lot of moves. His footwork is really good, but he can really shoot it too. That's the advancement in the game. Kevin wasn't known for his, outside shooting, but Timmy's really good. And then they got the senior or junior Kispert, who's just a terrific shooter of the basketball. They've got a veteran team. Mark Few's terrific. Baylor's got a shot. I mean,
grown men on Baylor. Grown men.
Scott Drew's got a squad. That the kid Mitchell, number 45, who looks just like Donovan Mitchell, who wears number 45 for the Utah Jazz. They move the same. Very, very eerie. I'm really interested. I've got a favorite player in the tournament. Got to make it.
Okay.
2 actually, and they're on the same team. I've got a soft spot for our guy Johnny Juzang, who played at UK a year ago, and he's now showing up in the Elite 8 for UCLA in his hometown. I'm really happy for that young man. I remember asking him a year ago, what if you didn't play basketball, what would you do, Johnny? And he just shot back immediately. Oh, Navy SEAL. For sure. Like, just a fascinating kid, smart. So I'm happy for him. But his teammate on his team is a guy named Jaime Jaquez, who's about 6'8", a sophomore, and he's dirty. He's dirty, Josh. He can play.
I know. He can. He's not scared of the moment.
No, and he's got handle. He can pass. He can score. When stuff breaks down for them, they run their stuff through him. So they've got a fighting chance. I'm happy for Mick Cronin, longtime guy here in the Midwest, worked for our guy Rick Pitino. Happy for Mick's success. Trying to think who else. USC, the big Mobley brothers.
How about Isaiah? It's not all Evan. Isaiah's real.
He's got some flair to his game. 6'9", 6'10". Those kids can really hoop. Really hoop.
They can. Yeah. Having a guy like Evan Mobley that can be the best player on the court at times. That's the kind of player that can beat Gonzaga in one game.
Yeah.
In one, they would definitely win if it was 2 out of 3 the whole tournament. But one game, as we well know, I still got Kentucky winning this whole thing. So if
we didn't get in, buddy. We didn't get in. We did not get in.
What do you mean?
We didn't get in the tournament, the men's team, Kentucky.
But we're going to win it, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah. We're going to win it. You're right.
Okay,
thanks.
Thank you.
Speaking of that, the USC has a kid that very much, he's built a lot like Anthony Davis, Evan Mobley. He could be the number 1 overall pick coming up. But to your point, he is a guy. Anthony Davis won a national title for us, and did he score in that game? Maybe he just took one shot. I think he just took one shot.
We were there.
We were there. Greatest night of our lives.
Yes, he was.
But, Evan Mobley can do that. He can dominate a game defensively, average like 3 blocks a game, and he just keeps getting better. Switch gears for a second. Somebody I kind of want to talk about. Don't know if you've heard of him. His name is, I think they pronounce it Zion Williamson. Zion, Z-I-O-N. Zion.
Sport.
It's baskets. Basket
Oh,
sport. Yeah, basket sport. No, I got to talk about Zion, man. Stan Van Gundy, my partner Stan, my ex-coach Stan Van Gundy with the Miami Heat. He and I worked together last year at NBA TV while he was on a little hiatus after being fired. So we got to rekindle our friendship a little bit, and we were watching Zion play last year, and this is before he ever knew he was going to coach the Pelicans. And I remember specifically him asking me, "What do you think of Zion Williamson?" I said, "I think he's incredible. I think he's insane. He's like Draymond Green on steroids." That's what I envision him like, because he can get it off the board, a la Charles Barkley. Can get it off the board, go coast to coast. He's built like, former teammate of mine, Rodney Rogers. Explosive, bouncy, lefty also. But he's got more length than Draymond. He's got the same kind of feel, maybe not quite the passer that Draymond is right now, but it's taken
Draymond.
Hell
of a passer, though.
He's a hell of a passer. He's got great vision. He's unselfish. When he's got a head of steam coming, you're at a loss. And Stan, I think, has decided to kind of, let Zion run a little bit more of the one. And man, he's fucking tearing it up, Josh.
Yeah, he is. They're playing through him. And that's the thing, is because you don't have to play through him, because he'll just get his, because he's just that explosive. But they're so smart because he's such a good and willing passer. It's lethal.
No, I know. And, they've got other really good players. He's just I just hope he can stay healthy. I'm knocking on wood, because, man, he's a generational type of guy. And look, I remember when Jason Kidd couldn't shoot. I remember when Rajon Rondo couldn't shoot. And before long, 4 or 5 years in, remember Lonzo Ball couldn't shoot. And here we are 3 years later, he's completely changed his shot. He's shooting in the high 30s. His shot is night and day from where it was. Zion is going to become, at some point, he'll become a serviceable shooter of the basketball, just like Michael Jordan did. We all played off of Michael. When I first came in the league, you still played off of Michael and made him make shots. And if he made 2 or 3, then you would get up on him. That's the way they play Zion now. Once he starts shooting that ball and, adding a little pull-up jump shot to his game, it's over. It's a wrap, because when he plays downhill, you can't stop him. He's a nightmare.
Well, I'm with you with everybody's kind of worried about his health, because have we ever seen anyone that big and explosive in any sport? It's crazy. Everyone's worried that can the human body take that torque? I'm afraid he's going to get a open, just all on his own, just a breakaway, and he's going to explode, and his entire body will explode. Just eviscerate, and just chunks of him in the stands, women and children crying "Oh my God," because I don't see how someone can be that explosive and the body can take it. It's crazy.
That'll be a hell of a top shot.
Yes, sure. That'd be in the Sports Center top 10.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right though. He attacks the game and the rim with that. That's why you worry about his health too. If he was out there just sort of lollygagging up and down the court, we wouldn't worry about his health. But he attacks the rim like Derrick Rose attacked the rim, like Stevie Francis attacked the rim with that ferocity. So I'm just excited for him. I hope he does stay healthy, because I want to watch him play longer than a decade. Right?
Shoot, me too. Yeah, watch how he evolves. What about the Lakers and the Nets?
Yeah.
They're just trying to sign they're just trying to do an all-star team on both teams. What do you think about that?
Yeah, was thinking a lot about this the last couple of days as I've seen people just giving insane amounts of shit to the Brooklyn Nets for going out and getting Blake Griffin, and now getting James Harden, and then Blake Griffin, and then now LaMarcus Aldridge. And the old timer in me kind of wants to bitch and complain about it. I just can't. And the reason I can't is because I played 12 years in the NBA. Didn't make it out of the first round once, not once. I'd have given anything to have a chance to win a title at any time in my career, but especially my last couple, be on a title contender like that.
Sure.
The thing about it, though, is the rules were such back then. Also, guys weren't making as much money. You didn't buy out serviceable guys back in the day. You would try to trade them for assets. The system is such now that we're in this position where these teams can afford to buy these guys out if they want to go younger. So Blake's bought out. What's he supposed to do? Go to a shitty team? I'm asking.
Right.
Retire? I'm going to retire a Piston. Oh, really? Okay, Blake. All right. So I don't know what they're supposed to do. What's LaMarcus Aldridge supposed to do? Is he supposed to find a shitty, maybe go to Charlotte? And I'm not saying Charlotte's shitty. They have been shitty in recent years. They're kind of turning the corner now. But is he supposed to go to a middling team and try to help them maybe get into the playoffs? I don't get it. I don't get what the hate.
Understandable.
I don't get what the hate is. Also, I don't get the hate for Drummond going. I like Andre Drummond going there, especially now that Brooklyn got another piece. Let's also not forget LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake and DeAndre are available for a reason. They're available because they're not the player that they were. I understand it's a benefit to have look, I'd rather have Blake Griffin coming in off the bench than an unknown rookie that you drafted in the second round or as a free agent, because that dude is going to get rookie calls in the playoffs. Blake Griffin is not. LaMarcus Aldridge is going to get vet calls. You can still run some offense through Blake. I like what these teams are doing. I do feel bad for the Portlands. I do feel bad for the, team, the Miamis, the Milwaukees that are right there that, I'm sure they would have loved to have had a LaMarcus Aldridge, but somehow the Nets figured out how to do it, and more power to them. I'm more worried about the Lakers right now because with LeBron out, and that hopefully he's going to get back fast. That didn't look good. His ankle turned the wrong way. That looks like a bone bruise and all kinds of stuff. Hopefully he'll get back with AD out. I think Phoenix is going to overtake them as well as Utah. Utah is going to stay up top. They're playing really good. So
right now, a little bit after the All-Star break, if you had to say, everything can change, but if you had to say who's gonna win it, who would you say at this point?
Nets. I'm biased. Zeke's up here, my son. He's in the video room.
You're in a different location.
I'm in Brooklyn, buddy. Yeah. In fact, guess what I'm getting ready to do? I'm about to see my first live basketball game at any level in a year. I got the vaccine, and I'm going to go out. I'm going to wear my mask, and I'm going to watch a couple basketball games over at the Barclays Center. I'm going to
normalcy.
My God. We'll still take precautions, but maybe I'm biased a little, probably biased a little, but James Harden, just incredible. I mean, he's made all the difference for that team. They still don't have KD. Kyrie's been in and out, and they're doing it. Our guy Stevie Nash, my guy Stevie Nash, I'm so happy, proud for him. Also, big benefit that Mike D'Antoni's over there on the bench. He's got a terrific staff. He made Udoka, Jock Vaughn. They're going to have to get better defensively a little bit because they're going to have to get some stops in the half court. But if they're healthy, I don't know if you can beat them. I don't think you can. Not the way the game's played today. If you can't touch anybody, good luck. I mean, you can maybe game plan for 2 of those 3 guys, but not for KD, Kyrie, and James. Come on. It's absurd.
All right, we're going to pivot a little bit to a weekly segment that we're going to do here. This will be the first one. It's we're going to do a little thing called Book Club, where we just talk about some things we're reading that think it's interesting and maybe other people might find interesting. So what do you got? What have you been reading lately?
Nothing at all.
You haven't been reading anything?
No, I've been tweeting. But no. Yeah, nothing.
Well, I haven't.
What about you?
Well, now you say that, I'm not reading a lot either. So I guess, that's been the first segment of Book Club. We'll work on that. And then also, this is great. It's the 3rd episode. I feel like we're getting a little better, a little rapport, if you will.
Yeah, and veteran podcaster.
Yes. And I'm starting to get into my role as your sidekick here, and I think we're doing a good job. It's like
you're like my John Stockton. You're my John Stockton. I'm Karl Malone to your John Stockton, right?
Sure. But if we're going to break it down to the entertainment, it's like a Johnny Carson to Ed McMahon. Yes, right.
Paul Schaefer, David Letterman.
Yes, right. Yes, I'm Paul Schaefer, but I can't play anything.
You can be Letterman.
I don't think that's you. You both got the gap too.
It is true. It is true.
And obviously, one of our favorites, also Conan O'Brien and Andy Richter.
Andy Richter is his big sidekick.
Yeah, and they're great at it, and kind of like I would aspire to be them. And
what?
Interestingly enough, who's our guest today, Rex?
We got somebody coming on, Josh. I believe that's going to teach you how to be an even better sidekick. We've got Andy Richter.
Hey, my Andy Richter.
You're Andy Richter.
Have you been Andy? I've been on Conan twice as a guest. Yes. And I got a bet for you.
What?
There is no way Andy Richter remembers either. He will not remember me being on the show at all.
Bullshit. I hope he doesn't. I really do. He doesn't.
I know he won't. Do you know how many thousands of people have been on that show? Guests?
He remembers you. You said you've been on twice?
Yeah.
I know you. Do you remember those appearances?
Not really. I don't remember what I talked about. I don't. I do know though, it's one of the scariest feelings. So you go back, there's two guys behind the curtain holding it, and they're like, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" And you're just waiting, and it's like, "Yeah, my name is Josh Hopkins here," and they pull that back, and it's just like Cindy Brady, like, oh shit, and you just walk in, hey Josh, and there they are, and you're just freaked out, and you got your little things to talk about, and you don't know how it's gonna go. And I killed both times. No, not really. I just was like, get me off of here. But I guarantee you he doesn't remember. Guarantee you.
Well, I can't wait to talk to him. I grew up watching with my mom and dad the Carson show. And, it was just part of my childhood. And then, we watched all of these guys from Letterman to Leno to everybody come through. But when he and Conan burst onto the scene, I really felt like they were speaking to our generation of college kids, because that's about the age we were, and we were kind of, not that we still love Letterman, but, the Tonight Show was getting a little long in the tooth at that point. And Andy and Conan really, I can't wait to talk to him. Just a fascinating dude, brilliant guy.
He does one of the best bits that I want to steal anytime it ever happens. If you're ever somewhere and like the power goes out, he always goes, all right, the power, boom. He goes, my pearls. I just love that. I can't wait to be in some power outage just to steal that and say it.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Well, Josh, why don't we get into it? Let's talk to Andy Richter. Paul Andrew Richter. I'm so happy to meet you, man.
It's nice to meet you too, Rex.
I'm thrilled to be doing this here with my buddy Josh Hopkins. We're homeboys from Kentucky. We go way back. I lived on Josh's couch for a while, and man, I cannot tell you. I'm so excited that you're here, taking the time to do this. What a crazy time in the world, right?
It sure is, yeah. But see, if you weren't doing it this way, I wouldn't have been able to just see your dog walk by.
Very true.
Yeah.
Hey, quick question. Do you ever remember Josh coming on your show on Conan?
Josh, Josh, talk so I can see you.
Hey, what's going on there? Thank you for doing this. The doing someone's podcast is the new, like, will you read my script? And it's really nice of you to come on here.
I'm happy to. No, it's fun. I'm in the same boat. It's like, I have a podcast called The Three Questions, and like how I just dropped the name in there, that's called a plug. I actually just had Patricia Lockwood, who is a writer, very funny writer who got known through Twitter. She's a poet and a writer. And she did that. Like when you sell a book, they teach you, like, say the name as much as you can. And you can really hear it when people are on TV and they're like, in my book, Clash of the Elites, I like to talk about the Clash of the Elites. And so, but I have a podcast. And so it's the same thing. I'm like hitting up people like, would you please waste an hour of your day just to provide content for me, But Josh, you were on the Conan show for what? I don't remember.
Yeah, I knew you do thousands of people. I wonder how many guests you've sat in with. That's crazy. How many do you think?
Well, we were over 2,000 shows. So that's like, if you just go to a show, that's 4,000. I mean, there's repeats there. But I mean, I'm in the weird position of seeing myself in not just like an interview or something that I don't remember, but like full, like weird costumes, and like, getting pies thrown in my face with absolutely no recollection of like ever having done it. So that's, yeah. But what are you an actor? Were you, were you on for an acting role or?
Yeah, I was on twice.
Oh, really? I'm sorry.
I don't expect you to. This is perfect. I love this.
Okay.
But can't believe you remember. You remember, Josh? You remember being on?
I was huffing a lot of glue then, so I don't know.
What show were you on?
Oh yeah, I was on the show Cougar Town, and I know at least once.
Hell yes,
I was there for that.
And that's where I know your face from. So yeah. Now that you, and this is the other thing. I do this all the time, where it's like you look familiar, but it's like, and for me, and you probably go through the same thing. Like I find when back at the Warner Brothers commissary, I would see faces, and it's like, are you somebody I went to school with? Are you somebody that I did a guest spot with? It's such a mishmash, but. Now that you say Cougar Town, I know exactly who you are. Yeah.
Well, I am at about that level of fame where it is always like, you go to my gym? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I do. Like, are you sure you don't go to my gym? I'm like,
yeah,
pretty sure.
The worst one, because I get similar kind of, it's a similar sort of situation. And the worst one is when somebody goes, because I don't like to, people will be coy and they'll be like, you look like somebody. And I just don't have, I'm like, I don't want to go like, yep, so I just go like, my name's Andy Richter. I'm on the Conan O'Brien Show or, if I was doing something else. And the most embarrassing one is like, no, that's not it.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, I thought maybe we worked together. you know?
Yeah. Well, it's always like, so what have you been in? It's like, oh, I'm going to run down my IMDb for you. It's like, no.
No, yeah.
Can I take a picture? Well, you don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
I did come up with a good solution for that when people would be like, where do I know you from? And I'd go, church? People would take off.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
man.
Scientology Celebrity Center?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There you go.
Would you like to take a personality test?
Yeah. Yeah, no, Conan.
Got my dog in the back. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Conan did a remote at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame years ago. And there's such a flurry of activity and autograph seekers and stuff. And so people kept shoving notes and he'd sign them. And he said, like, when they were done, and because they shot for a long time, he, like, as he's walking out in the parking lot and there's trash everywhere, there's like a card with Conan O'Brien signed on it. So and that was a real ego builder to be like, oh, wait, who? Oh, fuck it,
Yeah, I got two quick questions because we're into that. You've got your own pod. We're pretty new to this. Like a little, coaching. Let us know what works and doesn't. Yours is kind of you do it well. It's kind of introspective at times.
Yeah.
You it's the 3 questions.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to use the medium, it seems like, instead of like, a 5-minute someone promoting something. You can really get deep. Do you love that?
I do. Well, that was the idea, because when the notion of doing a podcast, I was iffy on, because I didn't listen to them a lot. I mean, some I would, and I would be on some different comedy podcasts. But I knew I have so many friends who were like there at the very beginning of podcasting, where like I would go be on their podcast and I would be like, what is this? How does this work? Okay. So I always felt like if I would come along and say, I'm going to do one too, I would have felt like such a dilettante and a Johnny come lately. But then ultimately it was like, shit, Conan's going to do one. I might as well do one too. And I just wanted to talk. I wanted to kind of have the conversations that I have like on the couch at Conan, not necessarily like the publicist driven ones. And frankly, I've been in like therapy forever, and it's a language that I speak a lot, and it's the stuff that interests me because it's the stuff that I like to talk about. And the 3 questions, for those that don't know, and this is just the format for the whole thing, is where do you come from, where are you going, and what have you learned? Which I think kind of encompasses
absolutely
a thoughtful life, like an examined life. And those 3 things, when I started doing it, I had a lot of the podcast people like, you didn't really ask them specifically. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, it's not, it's just something to call it. I mean, don't you feel like you got that information out of the conversation? And they're like, well, yeah, but I mean, maybe you should, like divide the podcast up into 3 sections. I was like, no, that's not gonna. So for me, it's just it's a kind of podcast too that they call an origin story, which I think is they it makes it sound like I'm just interviewing supervillains, but that's sort of it. I just talked to Nikki Glazer yesterday, and we mainly just talked about mental health. It wasn't even so much laid out as you're from St. Louis and where'd you go to school and when did you think when did you think you were going to be a comedian? So it's I wanted to have kind of a conversation that would lean towards introspection, because that's kind of interesting to me. And I also too, I just didn't want to do like, there's so many meandering comedy podcasts of people kind of improvising and trying to figure out what the joke is. And I just, I feel like there's enough of that. And this is what I wanted, I imagine you guys, this is kind of for you guys, just like basically interviewing interesting people that you want to talk to, right?
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
Rex said, you're more intellectual, I think, in your podcast. And so we were thinking of going with 3 questions, and we were like, what's your favorite color? Are you hungry?
Do you own shoes?
Yeah. Yeah. Where's the weirdest place you pooped?
Yeah.
You guys can have that one for free.
Oh, thank you, Andy. This is awesome. I mean, and this is really what I kind of envision. I'm a college dropout. Josh is brilliant. You're brilliant. I know we have on sports people, Josh takes a back seat, and I get to listen to all the he gets to listen to all the nuance of basketball.
Yeah.
This is fun. This is really fun for me. I got to tell you, Andy, I can't thank you enough for coming on, but I go back and I'm going to dumb it down a little bit. Man, I was about 21, I guess, playing basketball for the Charlotte Hornets. You've been on television and a part of my adult life the whole time. Yeah. And my very first, I was living on my own first time, and all of a sudden this show with Chris Elliott, Get a Life, came out.
Yeah.
And I mean to tell you, I was enthralled. I mean, the guy's dying at the end of every episode, most of the time, but it was just genius. Didn't you build a submarine in the basement? It was, and Brian Doyle Murray, there was.
Yeah, I didn't know this was, Chris, I knew Chris, and Chris did that TV show, but the only thing I did with Chris was the movie Cabin Boy.
Yeah. That's what I was getting ready to get into. That's where I knew Chris from, and he just like came out of nowhere. And then I'm just fascinated with how did that come about? You're getting into that movie.
Chris started on, he's the old comedy team, Bob and Ray. He's Bob's son. Bob Elliott was so he grew up in New York in like a milieu of comedy people. And he was an intern on Late Night with David Letterman and was funny. And they just started using him in bits. And then he became a writer, and then he became like a writer performer. And Get a Life was his first step outside of that. He had the show. And, and it was always, as he once said to me, he said, people either really love me or they're really angered by me, like his sense of humor. And that was, Get a Life was, it's funny because my younger sister, it was her favorite show in the world. So it was my first big movie job. I had sort of like a one scene in a cable movie before that, but it was and she was like, I had hit the like the bullseye of what she wanted out of that. And so I just I auditioned for it. I was out in LA working on a live stage show that we had started in Chicago.
How old were you at this point, Andy? How old? Like gotta be early 20s.
26, 27, something like that. Because it would have been 92. So I would have been 26.
Yeah. Okay.
And I auditioned for it when I was in LA. I had already auditioned for it once, and then the show that I was doing here ended, and I went back to Chicago when I was sleeping on my mother's couch in the suburbs, wondering what the hell else, like now what? And they had a call back for me to come out and read again for Cabin Boy. So luckily my uncle had backed his truck into my mom's car, and she got the insurance money like the day that they asked me to like come to LA. So, and that because nobody had any money. So like I bought the Southwest ticket that stopped 3 times, and it was, and my mom's car was fucked up for 3 years. So, like she had to wait till it got hit again to get it the part that my uncle hit. And I came out and I stayed with a friend of mine. I slept on a friend of mine's couch, and I went to the store and bought the makings for one big pan of lasagna, and I ate that the entire week because I had no money. I bought my friend Jane Lynch. I borrowed her car because she had gone back to Chicago to do a play and left her car here. So I had a car, and I was here for about a week, and I went and read back 3 more times. And finally on the third time I told him, like, because I would, say I got here on Sunday, on Monday I went in and read, and then I just would sit and wait. And then, because there was not, nobody was having any meetings or anything. And then, and then he'd be like, Wednesday, they want me back. And so I'd go back and again, read the same part, do the same thing. And on the third one, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I got to get back to Chicago. And then the next day they hired me. So I flew back to Chicago, packed up my Toyota pickup truck and drove it to LA. And that was going to be my, my big Hollywood start. Yeah. And I was really lucky and glad to work on that movie. And that movie has become such a cult favorite. And the whole time I was on the Conan show, a lot of bands, musical acts loved that movie. And they'd say, we wore out the DVD in the bus. So,
I'm fascinated by it. And with both of you guys, I've known Josh a long time. I played basketball, and I knew that I was good in basketball before I went on to become a professional basketball player.
Yeah.
I am fascinated by you guys as young people, college. There's not been a stage for you really to prove yourself professionally. Just taking that leap and moving to LA or moving to New York is daunting. And, I'm just fascinated by the courage. And were there times, I'm sure there were plenty of times of self-doubt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there still are. There still is, like, and I've been really, really lucky to have a steady gig with working with Conan, and and it's been, like I say, it's been a real blessing in my life. But it also too, there's a lot of stuff I'm not doing because I got this steady job, and you kind of get out of sight, out of mind with a lot of things. And I'll go, I'll see a movie that's a comedy, and I know virtually everyone in it. And I'm like, God damn it. Why? I couldn't have been the security guard. What the hell? But that's just, it's like, you can't have it all. And I had to really, and Josh, you know what it's like when you get a series. It's like the like steadiness of it is such a, it's a rare thing. And with my particular situation, when my kids are 15 and 20 now, and I've been home for the last 10 years, I've been able to be at dinner for the last 10 years. And that, even like, Cougar Town, that's what they call, for people that don't know, it's that's a show that's shot like a movie. It's a single camera show. And those can be 14, 15-hour days. So I could have been on a show like that for my kids' childhood, but I wasn't. Like I say, I was able to drive everybody to school every morning and then be home for dinner every night. And that's really invaluable. So I left the Conan show, the late night show in 2000.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, is that courage too, because you're, at the top of the, kind of at the top of your game. And I remember hearing you say once that, hey, I kind of want to press my luck and see if I'm good at something else. And doing that, I just find daunting and fabulous. Well, what was that like?
At the time, I just was, young. First of all, I was young. I didn't have kids. If I'd had kids, it would have been a totally different story. But it was just me and my wife at the time. And so I was like, it felt like I was doing the same thing over and over, because I get to do a lot on the show, but it still is kind of within a limited scope. And most of the work I do on the show is kind of off-screen stuff. It's the kind of the producing of it and the tweaking of things, like Conan and we're sort of the last step in the quality control process. And I've also referred to myself as the comedy consigliere. It's when you're in charge of something, of a comedy, it's real easy to doubt yourself, and you need somebody you can trust to go, is that funny or am I crazy? And they can go, you're crazy, or that's really funny. So I kind of served that role for him. But I just felt like I could do more. I had started out wanting to be an actor. Like, I didn't want to be a TV personality. I mean, I didn't have anything against it, but it just wasn't what I set out to do, So I thought, I have this goodwill built up. I also knew the way that the industry worked, because I had friends and in local terms that had been on the Daily Show as correspondents, like guys from my kind of background, improv sketch guys. They were on the Daily Show for a few years, and then they left, and everybody wanted to have them. And it's just because it's like this feeding frenzy kind of mentality. If somebody's off the market for a while, that they're not looked at, but then all of a sudden they hear, oh my God, that guy's available, and then there's like a little mini bidding war. And I would see it happen. I've seen it happen with different people throughout my career. So I knew, like, I'd be able to leave the Conan show and at least get that first deal, and maybe even like that second deal. But it was sort of like, it was the third job where I was kind of more worried about it. And it is difficult. It's like, my parents they would say, okay, you're working on this show, but what happens if it ends? And I'm like, I don't know. Something else will come along. And they'd be like, how can you do that? And I don't know how I could I just did it, and I'm, the Conan show is actually ending on TBS, is ending in June. And then there's going to be this new HBO Max show, and nobody really knows. I kept thinking, they're lying. They know what it is, and they're just not telling us. But no, seriously, nobody really has an idea yet exactly what that show is going to be. So I'm not even sure if I'm going to be a part of it. So I might be back to, after 10 years, I might be, this summer I might be like, well, I need a job. I got somebody get me into, I'll sell some, forget Shaq. I'll sell the General car insurance. I can be with the General.
Take some time.
Yeah. My joke about the General car insurance is because somebody said once, like, why is Shaq in the ads for the General? They look so low rent. And I said he does the animation. That's the only reason. Like, he loves doing his own animation. So the General is actually animates the General, and so they're like, well, why don't you be in it too? Okay.
And he voices him. He's a great voice.
All of it.
Yeah. Incredible.
The range. Yeah.
Speaking of that, like, what if it didn't involve you? What your dream scenario now? What kind of thing would you like to do next? If you could just say what it would be.
Yeah. Well, luckily I do have the ability to do like within the same bucket. I can do a few different things. Like, I've hosted game shows. Like, I can do that kind of thing. I can do voiceovers, I do cartoon voices, which is like a thrill that I get to do that. Somebody's calling in, so I just had to click, which I just want people to know I'm on my phone because my internet is down. That's why it looks so shitty. But I would, the things, and it's such a cliche. I'd love to direct because I don't mind. I'm not somebody that needs to be on camera. And as I get older and fatter, I'm like, I'd be happy to have people not look at me. And also too, it's like, that's for me, what I like best about making television is making television. I like the actual process of making it. I've been doing it long enough. I've been on the floor of a television show that we put out every day, figuring out how this bit can work better, saying, you know what, that part of the set needs to be lit better. Just, basically being a producer of a comedy show. So I know how to do that. And I would love to have that happen. On the other hand, too, I'd love to get like a big, sweet acting job on a show and just kind of come in and say the lines and have that fun. That's kind of like, can be, in relative terms, that's a pretty cush job. Like, cause I've directed television commercials, and I know like that's a lot of work. Like you don't get to go back to your trailer for 2 hours and do the crossword, there's like constantly people in your face. But there's that. I'd like to make a show. I'd like to make, whether it's an animated show, because right now, and that's what I'm kind of, a friend of mine and I are trying to develop some animated shows, because those are selling now, to be frank. And there's a lot of the comedy world, they like Comedy Central right now is just, we want animated. That's all they even want to do. So, okay, let's think of a cartoon. But I just want to be making stories. That's the thing that I enjoy the most, is making stories. And which is why, like, as much as I say the Conan show has been a blessing, it's a different thing than it's not a story. And I want to get back to kind of making stories and, being fake people, not being myself.
Yeah, well, we hope you do that, because
I do too.
We'd love to see more. You're a hilarious guy. In fact, one of the things I did want to ask is, on the Conan show, you're like, your persona is kind of hilarious and adorable.
Oh,
and
thanks.
You're a dark comedy. You have a really dark sense of comedy. How do you not blurt out shit, like inappropriate on the show? Because I know the wheels are turning.
Yeah.
Have you ever pushed it and been like, ooh, that might have been across the line?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The one that comes to mind is, and this was, and I wouldn't do this again, but I did the show with a fever. Like I should have just, but it was in the early days, in the first few years. And we had this, we got to get this show out kind of mentality again, because we were young. And I had about 101-degree fever, which is like horribly irresponsible of me to be breathing on guests.
So we've learned,
in the last few months. It wasn't, and it wasn't like anybody told me, you're sick, go home. They're like, can you make it? Are you going to be? And I'm like, okay, yeah. And he did this thing, which he sometimes did, and which is like an improv no-no, it's called a pimp, which is where you say, you tease somebody, you ask them like a big loaded question, like, like it's like if you start an improv scene and you go to somebody, so what is it we're going to do today? And which you're basically putting them on the spot to write the whole scene. And he used to do it to me out of the blue, and just in different silly ways. And this was one of them. We were coming in to start introing a bit. And he said to me, he said, Andy, what is it we've always said we wanted to do with this show? and the answer, was going to be something like, I don't know, like educate people or something. And I said, like, kill a bunch of homeless guys and try and get away with it. And the audience was like, whoa, oh. And as it came out of my mouth, like I was going for like a Leopold and Loeb kind of joke, like Alfred Hitchcock's Rope kind of joke. And it just came out so artless and so bad, and like murder homeless people and get away. Except I think I said drifter.
And get away with it.
That's better.
Yeah, it's okay. And get away with it.
Yes, exactly. And I turned to the audience and I was like, I have a fever. Sorry. And they cut it out. But I mean, that was like one where I was like, oh yeah, that one didn't work so good. I have enough of a sense. Like I did early on, there was like, when we first got on TV, there was sometimes this fear, like, I'm going to blurt out, fuck. I'm gonna blurt out the word fuck at some point, you know, and but you know that you calm down and you realize no, you're not gonna blurt out the word. It's just the pressure of it. It's like it's just one form that the pressure takes.
Yeah,
And,
I will see. I'm going through a little bit of that myself. You know, you are to Conan as I am to Rex. You know, in a big way.
He's my Andy Richter.
Yeah, I also have a dark sense of humor, and of course, this is a different medium. But I don't know. You know, I'm like, just chill out for a second. But do you have any advice about how to censor yourself? Like I'm about to scream out "fuck," but I can't. But, you know, you don't want to use it so much it becomes disaffected.
Well, is there editing?
Yes.
So do whatever say whatever the fuck you want.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Fucky fuck.
I mean, editing is such your friend. Like it's, you know, it's like give it a try and see, and then it's not even. I mean, the worst thing of something, you know, worse than inappropriate is like not good. Like, you know what I mean? I'd way rather make people like go ooh than go you know.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you.
It is. I grew up. I guess all of us were around the same age. You know, watching Carson. I don't remember Ed Sullivan. I remember Carson, and then, but right around that time, you guys came along a few years later, and you guys stole my mom and dad from you know, NBC and the late night show, or with Carson and those guys, Leno. They've been fans ever since. But
that's great.
They're in their late 70s now. I mean, they're still, they love you guys. However, my dad played basketball also. He played in the old ABA.
Oh, wow.
He's watched everything you guys have ever done. My mom loves you. They will not go see semi-pro. And it's hilarious. And I love it because it's so stupid. He goes, no, they're making fun of the ABA. I said, yes, but no, they're not. It's great. Yeah. I said, plus it's a great basketball movie. It's a great, you know, sports movie. But I get such a kick out of giving them shit. Oh, they love you guys. Refuse to go see semi-pro.
Yeah.
But to get into that, all of those movies with Will and those guys must be great fun. How long did it take you guys to shoot the jive turkey scene?
Oh, that, you know what? That was added on too, because they did a cut. You mean the card playing scene?
Yes, right? yes.
Yeah, that was added on because there was just like a point in the movie where they needed something funny. Like there was like, you know, because there's funny and then there's story and then there's funny and then you know, conflict and there was just this stretch of the movie that ended up just being a lot of story and conflict, and they just wanted a scene with funny in it. So they wrote this short scene for us to play cards in, and you know, and a lot of it was improvised, a lot of it was fucking around, and that was probably, you know, that was a whole day, you know, because it was actually, and like I say, it was a reshoot. We had wrapped, and we just did it in a you know, and Jerry Minor, who's in the scene, they're like, you know, Jerry's funny, bring Jerry in, you know, because actually Jerry had auditioned for one of the basketball players and didn't get it. And I think that the producers of the movie regretted not just having him be in the whole movie and be one of the basketball players, because I think that they were worried at the top, like before they started, that because Jerry, I think Jerry's played basketball, but they wanted basketball players that looked a little more like kid.
Look the pro.
Yeah. And then they just kind of, once they were shooting, they realized like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like you can fake it. You know, there's plenty of ways to fake making somebody look like a real basketball player, you know? So they brought Jerry in just to be in that funny scene, and it was good. It was fun to do, and
so much fun.
It became like the scene of that people remember from the movie.
Oh yeah, it's legendary in sports circles and all of that. I'm and then you've just been in so many funny movies and some of my favorites. How brilliant is Sasha Baron Cohen?
He's pretty amazing, and he's like he's really, really hilarious and real, and obviously really, really brave, if not like a little mentally ill, because it's to be able to turn off your embarrassment, or you're just like, I'm no good with pranks. Like, I know there's a lot of comedians that do pranks and they'll do prank shows and stuff. I'm terrible at it because I get so embarrassed and I feel so bad for the person being pranked. I'm like, this person's just living their life. Why am I fucking with them? And but he is like when we shooting Talladega Nights, like he did we had to do a scene where we were in the stands with extras, with Alabama extras. And there was this kid that we ended up standing next to and talking to a little bit, and he was like, like talking to us, and he had just like kind of handsome when you first looked at him, but then when you look, it's like, wait, his eyes are like really two different sizes, and just it was, and I don't mean to stereotype. This is just the honest to God's truth, and like I think his mom owned a strip club or something. It was like he was just a real character. And Sasha's there because we were just doing some shot, and we have, we're just waiting in between takes or setups. And Sasha was talking about how the last time he was in Alabama was he did a Bruno bit as a cheerleader. Bruno, the gay character that he plays.
Yeah.
And he said, like, he had to be snuck out of there. Like, they had to, they put him in like a trooper's uniform because the people, and there's footage of it, people coming down out of the stands just because he was cheerleading and just being very
I remember
cheerleading. You said people were just like coming down and like they were like trying to get over the cops to like get to him, to hurt him. And Sasha was like, yes, he said there's nothing like hearing and I don't know whether 20,000 people say they want to kill you and call and chanting that you're an F word, and this kid was like, oh wait, man, I was there. I was one of those people. Like I was like, oh, that's funny. Like, no, actually it's not that funny, but okay,
Yeah, that was one of the funniest things about that skit was because it was, he knew what he was doing, but the vehemency of the people, they were so, it wasn't like, hey, stop. They were like, I want to kill you.
Yes.
And he kept on though. He kept on. He kept on there.
In that one too, I think you said that it was the troopers that are like, you have to stop. We have to get you out of here. And like I say, they put him in a trooper uniform to get him out of there because they were just afraid that they couldn't control people, which is like, we're laughing about it, but it's also, that's kind of his thing. You laugh about something that is just absolute horror, just the absolute ugliness of, and he also too, with him, he will fuck with you in public in a way, like he'll tease and fuck with you in public. There was a bunch, it was like me and I can't, it was like me, it was Will Ferrell, Adam McKay, who directed the movie, Dave Koechner, the actor who was Whammy, was in Anchorman, Sasha, and then a couple other people. I can't remember. There was like another couple actors. And we were all on a really early flight out of Birmingham, connecting in Atlanta, and then coming out to LA. We're all in the same place. So we're just traveling together. And it was really fun because you don't get to travel that much with that many people very often. And in Birmingham, he was in the you know, and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. He's making, I bet everybody thinks I look like a terrorist, you know, there's a bomb in this bag kind of stuff. And we're all just like, and as we're in the TSA line, and we're all just like, shut the fuck up. But it's like, he can't help himself, you know.
And I've been around him quite a bit, friends of friends, and just like their backyard, and see him, and I think he's so brilliant and such a genius, but I can't have any fun around him. He's like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, you're making fun of me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't
also too
control it.
It was interesting to be in something with him as an actor, because I mean, I play his husband, so we were in a lot of stuff together. Yeah. And early on in the process, we shot so much stuff for that movie. That movie is one of the ones where, like, I was in Charlotte for about 2 months on and off, you know, in and out, on and off. And so like and shot so much stuff that just didn't make it to the screen. that movie was like one of the ones the most where I went to the first screening of it and I was like, there I am. Oh, there I go. Oh, there I am. Oh, there I go. And it's like, oh, wow. That was 2.5 months of my life. But it was a really fun 2.5 months of my life. You know, it was a really great 2.5 months of my life. But early on in the process, we were shooting these like improvised scenes that were going to be like our backstory. And it's like him in a tub and me scrubbing his back while I'm, you know, painting portraits and stuff. And movie improvising is different because people have to know what you're going to do. So we kind of, with Adam McKay, we're kind of like working it out in the beginning. And I knew he knew who I was, but I don't think he knew my work that much. But we're saying, okay, I'll say this and you say this and this and this. And at one point he said to me, like, I said, and then I'll say this. And he said, like, are you sure you want to say that? And I said, oh yeah, I'm real sure I want to say that. He goes like, don't you think it'd be better? And I said, no, I don't. I said, this is improv. I said, you get to control your words. I control my words. And it kind of like shut him down because I saw him, like, there were other people on set that he would, like, you know, like the poor wardrobe woman, like he would say, like, I think it'd be nice if in this scene I had and I remember this, a banana yellow fedora. And she's like, I'll see if I can get one. And it's like, it's fucking Charlotte, North Carolina. Like, that's a really specific thing, you know? Like, how about a colorful fedora? But like, no, banana yellow. And she had to go like this. And I was like, I think I better early on set this, like, no, I'm not going to do the comedy improv equivalent of give you a banana yellow fedora.
That's brilliant, dude. That is so brilliant and brave. I mean, shit, it is brave.
Yeah. But I mean, at a certain point, you do this stuff long enough that you just learn, you know, one of the most powerful things you learn, and I'm sure you probably learn it as an athlete, you learn to say no. You know, you start out thinking like, oh shit, I'm so happy to be here. And this is all, you know, I'm so lucky that whatever you want, I want to be a good, and also too, I'm a good worker. Like I was raised to be a good worker, be a hard worker. Don't let your boss down, you know, all of that kind of just basic small town stuff. But then at a certain point, especially with what I do, people take advantage of you. They waste your time.
Ask you to be on their podcasts.
Yeah. Terrible.
You know, they ask for like little extracurricular things. Like, you know, like I hosted a game show once and everybody that was in the game show was off doing this, like taping. It was in between setups. They were off talking into the camera and somebody was, you know, they were doing like some little mini interview and and then it was my turn. And I said, what is this that we're doing? And they're like, oh, it's the programming executive's birthday. And we're having everybody wish her a happy birthday and saying how much they hope that she picks up the show. And I was like, oh, I'm not fucking doing that. I was like, that's gross. Like, I was like, and if that's what it takes to get this show picked up, this show should not get picked up, you know. But I was like, oh, that's humiliating. That's like, you know,
brilliant.
Yeah. Like, please grovel in front of this person. No.
That you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know her.
That I'd never even met.
Never even met. Yeah. Andy, I want to ask, I know we're probably running long. I want to ask you about one of your friends who I've kind of become Twitter friends with.
Okay.
And I believe is going to come on with us very soon. And that's, I keep calling her my Janie Lynch.
Yeah.
And I'm, well, such a big fan of hers, but I know you guys go way back.
Yeah, we've been friends for a very long time, and she's like one of those people in your life that you just, you know, it doesn't matter if you haven't seen each other in 6 months, a year, you just pick up right where you left off. And we were in a show. The way we got to know each other was we were in a show called The Real Live Brady Bunch that started in Chicago. And when it went to New York, it was a ridiculous, silly thing, really funny show. Live
just
recreation.
read action clips, right?
That was the idea. Yeah. And the idea was to not comment on it, to just try and mimic it as much as you could, because, and what it did to you too, is that you ended up realizing like how much this fucking show had been like just carved into your brain. And they're just like little gestures and stuff that they, and also it wouldn't have worked if the fact that the people weren't incredibly talented. It was a really talented group of people and really gifted comedians. And they, you know, you'd see Peter Brady doing somebody that he didn't look a lot like Peter Brady, but he would just be like, holy shit, that's exactly what Peter Brady acted like. And, you know, and then, you know, all that, it's so easy. And it really is. It's just like, it was so comforting. It coincided with this kind of wave of 70s nostalgia that would happen like right at the end of the 80s, you know, I mean, it wasn't that long, but all of a sudden people are like, let's wear bell bottoms. And Jane, when we went to New York, which is like, it's crazy that it got to go to New York. I started to play, the guy that had been playing Mike Brady, stayed in Chicago to run the theater. And I went to New York. And so we were, you know, on stage, husband and wife. And she, you know, and it was also kind of funny because we were also kind of like the adults, you know, like, you know, like that's just kind of more our personality, you know, like I've always been kind of the person that's like, you know, like we want to drop acid and go watch the sunrise in the Indiana Dunes. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. And they're like, no, we really want to do it. And I'm like, all right, we can do it, but I'm driving, you know, like that's the kind of where I'll drop the acid and I'll go watch the Dunes, but I'm going to drive because I don't trust any of you other fuckers.
I need more friends like you.
Yeah. It's funny because it's gone down to my son, because my son's friends call him Dad because he's always the one that's like, you know.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So
that is great.
We were kind of the adults anyway, and we kind of bonded in that sense. And she's just one of the, you know, she's just a wonderful, genuine person, and you know, and I'm so happy. She's like one of those people that you're really happy that she's successful.
I listened to
beautiful.
her on your podcast. I listened to you interview her, and you could tell there was so much history and so much respect and love for each other. That was just, and you guys went, you know, since you knew her, it was easy to go pretty deep, and it was a lot of fun. You've got a great podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ours.
Sure.
Man, yeah, really and truly. We're just getting our feet wet. Until now, Josh was going to be my Ed McMahon, but no, not any longer. He's my Andy Richter. Oh boy. Andy, yeah, we do. Did you play high school sports?
I did. I played, I played football for my first 2 years, and then we got a new coach. It was I grew up in a little town. There were like 750 kids in our high school total. And we got a new coach because we were pretty good. Yorkville, Illinois, we were pretty good. And our new coach wanted to really get at him. And it was me going into my junior year. So at the end of my sophomore year, he held a team meeting, and he said the IHSA, which is the high school, the athletic association. Yeah. They won't let us practice until August. Like there's a date that they won't let you, it's against the rules to practice. Right. So he said, so we're going to have strength and conditioning 5 days a week at 5 p.m. for an hour and a half. We're going to lift weights. We're going to run wind sprints. And he said, but it's all optional. And I think you all know what optional means. Yeah. and these guys went, ha, 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 like laughing. And I was like, what the fuck are you laughing at? This fucker just stole your summer. and I went home and I told my mom and dad, my mom and my stepdad what he had said. And my stepdad, God bless him, went, we're going to quit, aren't you? And I was like, oh, yes. I was hoping to hear that because, so I quit. I got a job in the grocery store. I worked in I was already working at that point. I'd been, I had a paper routes and stuff, but I was like, I'll get a job instead. And I played basketball my freshman, sophomore year. I played tennis all 4 years. And I still, which I mean, that's, sort of worked out.
I love tennis.
Tennis and golf, I mean, they're country club sports, but they're also something you can do for the rest of your life.
That's right. I've gotten into swimming. I'm so old. I've gotten back into swimming. That's my new thing. No, I real quick, I have well, you're tall and long arms and long limbs. Conan, tall. You guys would do great at the late night combine. You two together. Josh and I are big boys as well. Josh and I are big boys. We're both 6'3" or 4. Yeah. But I had a run-in with Conan. Not a run-in. I encountered him. I was living with Josh. And I don't know how much you know of my story, Andy. I had painkiller addiction for a long time. But 6 or 7 years ago, I was coming out of it. I was living over in the valley with Josh, and a buddy of mine had a kid playing in a soccer match over in Brentwood. And I went over to Brentwood. I got out of the car, and immediately, I noticed people taller than I am usually. But I saw this hair, and it was just Conan's hair. And of course, I know this is Conan. And I was so, I was kind of, Josh knows, I was broken, man. I didn't have much self-confidence. I didn't have anything. I wanted to say, I geek out just like everybody else does when you see somebody you've always seen. And I wanted to say hi. He was with his son, maybe 10 or so at the time.
And then he goes, where's Andy Richter?
Yeah.
I wanted to say hi, but I didn't. Anyway, he's a great, big old drink of water. Tall drink of water.
Yeah. He is not, I mean, he's not the athlete though.
No,
he's not. Yeah. No, he's not. And that was, and when you're a kid, everybody expects you, if you're tall, they're so excited, that like where I grew up was lily white. And in fact, when the first black family moved into our county, everybody knew it. And it was the next neighboring town. And one of my teachers, she was like an art teacher, and she taught at both schools. And she said they were so excited because it was 2 boys in the family. They were like, all right, now we got basketball stars. And they both were like science geniuses who had no interest in playing basketball whatsoever. And they were like,
how tall are you?
I'm 6'1". I'm 6'1".
Thing. One time I was like at the upfronts, like TBS or something, and walking around, and we came around a corner towards each other, and there you were, and we kind of, the pleasantries of, oh, hey, buddy, went on. And I was Andy Richter kicked my ass. mean,
yeah, he's a great big boy.
Because next to Conan, you think you might, and you're sitting a lot. You think you don't think of Andy Richter kicked my ass.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, I spent, because like my brother, I have a older brother who's sort of my size, but he's 6'5", and he was the basketball player. Wow. And he was always like, I've always kind of been the one, like I had been on the heavy side. And
who's tall in your family? Who's tall in your family? Who's tall?
My dad is tall, and then there's just a lot of big old sad Swedes that are about 6'2", like big plow horses of people, like when you see like old family photos, they're just, and I mean, the men and the women, they're all just like big farm people, and but I forget what I was going to say. We grew up in
Kentucky. We know it well.
Yeah, he used to be so mean to me about about that I was fat and the fat one and all this, because he was always rail thin, and he played basketball through junior college. He went to junior college and played basketball for 2 years, and then the second he stopped playing basketball, I was like, yeah, dude, fucker,
That's funny. That's funny. I read that your essay in that book, things that you learn from women who dumped me, and yours was like, it was really funny. But I remember one line specifically because you talked a lot about. It was about being a big kid and getting to love yourself.
Yeah.
And you said now you've grown up and you realize that your body is your weight is what it should be now. A health concern is what you said. Yes,
exactly. And that's true. I mean, because like any kind of like real concerns about my appearance, I always kind of feel are turd polishing anyway. So, the notion of like I'm going to lose weight and get hot. Like, no, I'm not going to lose weight and get hot. I'm just going to lose weight and live longer. Like that's sort of the more of the thing, and that's, I was at whenever anybody asks, what advice would you have to your younger self? It's always learn to love cardio, because I still fucking hate that shit. I just
same.
I never got to the point, and I mean, I've been exercising my whole adult life, in a gym and going to the gym and stuff, but I have never gotten to the point where I'm like, oh man, I missed my workout. Damn it, or running, and I mean, now I don't have the knees for running anymore, but on an elliptical and feeling like, oh man, this feels good. It always feels like stop.
Like those people that say, I forgot to eat all day.
Yeah.
What do you mean forgot to eat?
Yeah. Can I get
thousands of years? We've been our stuff. We get hungry and we search for food. How did you forget to eat?
I know. Well, they're probably on speed or something. Probably something. It's like, meth makes it so you don't have to eat.
Andy, buddy, thank you so much, man. We've taken up enough of your time. Let's do it again sometime. Really and truly. This is such an honor. I've been a fan forever.
Thank you. And
thanks, pal.
And Josh, and as we're talking, like I'm embarrassed that I didn't recognize you right away, because of course I know who you are.
Oh, I'm not embarrassed. I love it. I love every fucking second of it. This is so good. That's exactly how I wanted it to go.
Wow.
Josh.
Awesome was Andy Richter, huh?
Andy Richter, our new best friend.
That's right. I told you. Not a clue. He didn't never seen me in his life.
He didn't remember you. I am so happy he didn't remember.
Thank you. I know you are. I appreciate that.
I'll get many jokes in.
We were worried because we're new to this, but how great was it to have a guy who is a professional talker?
Professional talker.
He just led us through it.
I know.
That's a pro's pro right there. That guy knows what he's doing.
What a good dude. Could have talked to him forever. I mean, so many things I want to ask him about. We didn't even get to talk about the worst thing he's ever gotten away with. He gave us a little taste here and there, but man,
Right.
What a brilliant dude. So thankful he came on.
And it was awesome too that it worked out because his internet was out.
Yeah.
And we managed through it. He powered through it. That was pretty awesome. Really great guy.
So great. Took the time. And
We got some basketball this week, Rex.
We sure do, Josh. We're going to probably crown a champ at some point. Much more college basketball, much more NBA basketball. We're getting into a good time of year in the NBA because teams are going to start jockeying for playoff position. I'm fired up. You?
Yeah, definitely. I'm ready to get your take next week on all the action.
Let's do it, buddy.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone for listening to the Rex Chapman Show.
With Josh Hopkins.
With the very good-looking Josh Hopkins. And powered by BasketballNews.com. We appreciate you listening in, and be sure and subscribe and hit all those like buttons.
Great.
And tune in with us next Tuesday as well, because we are awesome.
We are awesome. And yeah, no, you got that exactly right, Josh. We are awesome.